Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this post-show discussion or pre-show discussion, depending on when you're watching it, for Nature of the Dream. My name is Micah Ariel James, and I was the dramaturg and co-producer on this project. And I'm accompanied right now by several members of the cast and crew who will be talking about their experiences working on the project. So yeah, let's start with some introductions here. We'll just go around.
I'll start. I'm Miriam Randolph. I was the director and producer and ensemble member for this project.
I'm Donna Scarf. I'm one of the ensemble members of this fantastic production.
Hi, everybody. Alexandra St. James Gray, also one of the ensemble members and grateful to have been a part.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kiera McGregor, and I am also an ensemble member.
Hi, I'm Antonisha Williams, and I was also in the ensemble.
Hi, I'm Kiera Lewis, and I was the assistant director and one of the producers on this project.
Hello, I'm Katie Merriman. I'm the artistic director here at the Playhouse, and I was a producer on Nature of the Dream.
And so Miriam, if you can kick us off, just kind of discussing what it took to get to the place of starting on this project. This is a project that came kind of out of COVID times and out of everything that happened in the year 2020. How did you launch into this project, assemble this team, and make this happen?
Well, it started off just kind of wanting to make a project about uplifting Black voices. And I thought a devised work would be the right way to go about that. And we approached the Des Moines Playhouse and asked if they would be interested in doing a project or if there's any work that we could do since we were in town. And we pitched them Nature, and it was going to be, at first it was going to be like a film play. And then we decided that it being a film would be just a lot safer. And that was also exciting because there's a lot of amazing things we could do with camera work and set. And that was all very exciting. And then I got a lot of inspiration from Solange when I get home, and Terrence Nance's Random Acts of Lightness, and a lot of Spike Lee films, obviously. And that gave me the kind of the inspiration to make a project kind of very similar to that, where you feel very liberated as a Black person and talk about the different multitudes of what it means to be Black. And then I wanted to explore that with being Black and predominantly white spaces like Iowa. And we moved on and we reached out to some people over Instagram, and I had Katie reach out to people she knew. We reached out to Pyramid Theater as well to reach out to see if we can get some actors involved within the project. And yeah, we ended up getting some amazing actors, and I'm very thankful that I hope can call me family as well now. And Kiera Lewis reached out to me over Instagram, and we became really, it was an amazing contact, and I'm glad she reached out. And some other crew members I had knew in the past of other productions that we've done in Two Steps productions. And Michael, we already had a pre-existing relationship, and I reached out to you as well. So kind of a lot of reaching out, and a lot of people reaching out to me, and it's kind of random, but in the best ways. It came out to be an amazing project.
Yeah, what about for you, Katie? What was that experience of coming on board as a partner for a project like this?
I just felt really lucky because I think a lot of places are aching to do something and to really like take action instead of just say words, particularly after the catalyst that the summer of 2020 was for some places. So it was I just felt really lucky that we ended up getting in touch with each other, and that Henry and Miriam were in the right place at the time and had the time. I just wanted to make sure it happened no matter what. It was just, I feel really fortunate that we were able to be a part of it, and that it has turned out to be such a beautiful project. But from our perspective, we're just here to make sure you have all the resources and had all the space and performers and you know, like kind of administrative support that the project needed. And then I shut up and learned a lot of stuff.
And for you, Kiera Lewis, you know, working on this project as the assistant director and you know, working on the producerial side of it, what was your role like for this project?
You know what, first of all, that this is actually my first time serving as an assistant director. Usually I'm just kind of more on the creative side. So shout out to Miriam for making me do it, because it was a great learning experience and I actually enjoyed it. So I will give her that shout out. But yeah, it was great working on it. Just like Katie mentioned, I kind of, you know, was grateful because working in film, and just due to the State of the Union last year, you know, I couldn't really express myself creatively. So creativity wise. So when I saw this opportunity, of course, I wanted to jump on board. And then when I saw that it centered around uplifting Black voices, I was all in. And, you know, this is the first time I was on a set with predominantly, you know, people of color, and especially female led. So I was really grateful to be on this project.
Yeah, one of my favorite things working on this project as a dramaturg and as one of the co-producers was being able to sit in on some of the rehearsals and to see specifically how the performers were contributing to the creation of this piece. For those of you who were actors and ensemble members and, you know, almost co-writers, co-developers of this project, what was that experience like for all of you?
It was actually a really good experience, because I think sometimes when you're an actor, you often get handed somebody else's words, and you have to bring somebody else's words to life, or you have to figure out how to make somebody else's words move through your body. I think it was really easy to talk about my own experiences and have my own words pop up on a piece of paper. And one of the scenes I'm in, for me especially, was a good thing, because being a Black trans woman and being a Black queer person, being able to speak of those experiences was a very powerful thing, because I'm one of those people whose voice often gets shoved in the back and not heard. So being able to have a group of people who said, tell this story, we want to know what it is, it was a really powerful thing. It was a powerful message.
Going off of that, for me, it was very different seeing my words come to life, I guess you can say. I haven't really done a lot of things where I get to speak my truth. I usually speak my truth through music, so this is very interesting. And I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity and to be a part of this project with amazing people. We started off with just conversations, getting to know each other. And through that, we just came up with an amazing script. And it seemed easier when we first started and we're like, oh, we're supposed to be writing this as well as acting. I was like, oh, I don't know if it's gonna be good. Like, I'm not a good writer. And like, but having other people by there and telling your story and hearing other people's story, it was very, very interesting. And it's something that people need to hear.
For me, it was a bit frightening because I'm an actor. So I'm more used to using other people's words, and to have to produce my own, or rather expose my own thoughts and feelings and attitudes toward things was for me a bit frightening. But it was tremendous to be able to hear all of us discuss about particular topics and to help each other to go deeper. So in that aspect, it was quite a rewarding experience.
I can second that. The comment that Donna just made about being rewarding. I totally agree with that, because the first half of this process was heavy, but I loved it. Like, I love that kind of stuff, but it was definitely different. It opened my eyes to a lot of things that learning from others, but also like learning about myself that surprised me and made me go back and do a lot more digging into myself. And I really appreciated that because I feel like I grew as not only an actor in this opportunity, but also as a person. So yeah, I'm so thankful.
So Miriam, you talked a little bit about, this process and what it was like to develop this project in these times, but I'm curious that there's kind of this line that is emerging between theater and film, virtual theater, what that is now. So I'm curious, over the process of developing, as you sort of landed, as you say, kind of more in film, but also in this theater land, what sorts of things did you draw from that film land and from that theater land to pull this project together?
I think for the theater lens, what excited me was like the lighting, which kind of enhances the overall emotion and the overall truth of what people were saying. And I really wanted to focus on that and keep it theatrical. And for film, with all the camera movements and kind of like these arc shots to really kind of give it a sense of this dreamlike quality, to give it some type of overall narrative throughout the whole entire piece. Because I wanted it for us to give out our truth, but I wanted to give it in a way where it made sense in a narrative type of sense as well. And I thought using film was a great way to kind of make things a little bit cinematic. And taking inspiration from like Barry Jenkins and how he puts the camera in people's faces, Black Americans' faces, so you can get their vulnerability. And so people are forced to look them into the eye. And I always thought that was so important to see. It's so important to see us look into our eyes and see our vulnerability, because it's just too often people just tend to look away. And I wanted it to do I think we all wanted to do our hardest to push ourselves in ways that we've never done before. And I thought film was a great way. I haven't directed film before. This is my first time directing a film. And I thought, why not? And I wanted, everybody's stories were so important to hear. And I wanted to show it in a very beautiful way. And I thought, well, film and theater would be a safe way to do it, but also just a very fun and expressive way to do it.
For those of you who have seen all of the project at this point or seen pieces of it, reactions. This is a very unique position for many of you who work primarily in theater, to be able to see the actual finished work with yourself in it. What was that experience like?
It was amazing. I haven't done, I was a film actor when I was younger, so I haven't done film in a really long time. So as I was watching things unfold, it was like, oh, wait, and then because of the experience and having to work in this space with COVID precautions, we all didn't get, when you're in a play, you're with everybody all the time. This this didn't happen. I think, I'm thinking about the fact that I was in scenes with two of the five people who were on, all of us were in scenes together, those of us who are here on the call now, but everybody else, I wasn't, like there was a moment where I remember coming into the space and I was walking into the space to get ready to do my stuff. Other people were leaving and I never physically got to work with them or get that moment where, sort of like when you're doing a play, you're all together in rehearsal moments where it's all of you sort of bonding with each other. And so we didn't get to do that. And so to be able to see the work in the other scenes, because you didn't get the chance to see them, it was like, whoa. It was this thing where it was like, wow, that's good. So I think, and for me, this process of not necessarily being with everyone and you get to see what they created and what you created and then how they were blended together, it was it was this sort of explosion of talent.
Anybody else?
Knowing what it felt like being there and realizing like how many takes we took and how many times we stopped and redid it, and knowing that there was just that freedom to kind of mess up a little bit more than in natural theater, it almost made me relax a little bit more and just dive into the opportunities of failing a little bit more than I would. And I just think it's very interesting to see the progression of what it was when you're in the space versus what it is on the screen, and how editing and music in the background can really just pull it all together and make it this movie, which is so cool to see.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for me was not having everybody at the same time, because we did these the first week. We had Zoom rehearsals with everybody. We all got really close together, and I think the hardest part was to see that we couldn't. I remember Alexi and Kira all at one point were like, "Can we do like a family scene?" And I was like, "Trust me, I want to," but to me, I was just worried of having everyone in the same room. So I think that was the hardest part for me, was to see that not everybody could be together. We had to choose certain pairs that worked for certain things. And I mean, if I could go back, I would want to make more pairs with different pairs and see what that would have been like. But that's also the process. But yeah, it would be interesting when Lexi would see people come in and out. And even though we spent literally a whole month talking to each other over Zoom, and yeah, but it was kind of also a mystery to see everyone seeing each other else's scenes and how they turned out, which was really cool.
So a few of you have already touched on kind of some of the vulnerability that was required to not only take on a role, but to create those roles, or to create these characters inspired by your own lives. That process, which is, so special. I say that from being able to witness it. That's such a special process. The level of vulnerability that you all were able to find with each other. What was that part of the collaboration like, as far as digging into stories that maybe are hard to tell? Maybe you wonder if this was the time to tell it. What sort of process did you have to go through for that kind of creativity?
Well, I think starting from our beginning discussions and getting to know one another, we began to feel that this was a safe place to be vulnerable. So that when we did open up our deepest, darkest selves, we knew that it would be received and not just cast aside. So I think that was part of the hardest things, because some of the prompts we had to write about and think about were sometimes things you sort of had in the back of your mind, but you never really brought to the front to look at. And now we were being asked to look at it.
To add on to that, also just hearing other people's vulnerability helped with my own, personally, I'm speaking as an I statement, but my own vulnerability. Seeing that was like a safe space, and there were like a lot of like heartfelt moments. There was a lot of cries for other people, and just being afraid in general, of speaking a truth that you've never spoken about before, or just bringing some things to light that you probably never noticed had affected you in that way before. And it was very difficult, but we all made sure that we knew that we were all scared, because this is something that we haven't done before. And just knowing that other people are by your side and doing things, creating such an important message for others, that also helped with being vulnerable.
Anybody else?
I think it was also a very multi-generational thing because all of us were different ages, all of us were playing different sort of people in different aspects. And I think the sort of frightening part was no matter what our age was, there was something in the prompts or something in the stories that connected all of us together. You know, we could be these different ages and something's going on where we were all telling the same story. It literally was, what chapter are you in?
I think the exciting thing was to just be uh, just surrounded by Black creatives, and I think me personally, that was very that lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders, and I felt like I could be super vulnerable with everybody and feel free to just speak out our truths and just feel very comfortable, because I don't want to speak for everybody here, but it was I haven't really had experience where I was surrounded by Black creatives in this way, and also be surrounded by a lot of women too. And this is the most communicative thing, where I felt like everyone was very communicative and everyone was very collaborative, and that was very exciting, and that also was very therapeutic in a way.
And that centering phrase of uplift Black voices, which is on the t-shirt, that kind of felt like a mantra of the entire experience, that at every point there's a rotation back to the point of this is to uplift Black voices. From that, I guess I would say, maybe as our closing question here, what is the thing, or what are the things that you hope that audiences take away from this project?
I can
Personally,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Go.
You
Okay.
got it.
Personally, I just want audiences to understand what it's like being in our shoes, to see through a different lens, and just to be educated on how we feel, things we may not be able to voice, and to understand those feelings and why we feel those ways. And also just to show a different side of Black joy, Black pain and struggle and all of that, and what it means to be Black, to just understand and take in and learn.
Yeah, you bring up some good points. I know I've discussed this with Miriam, but with this, I know it's going to be maybe a little bit controversial to some. So therefore, I hope they take it as a learning moment. Don't get offended and don't be so quick to shut it down. Take it in, hear it, and then talk about it. And then for people of color, I really hope that Black people specifically, I hope they feel seen. I hope they, like you said, that Black joy. I want them to feel that Black joy. I want them to feel that Black pain, because we go through it, and that's just reality. So that's kind of what I'm hoping the audience will get from this.
I'm a firm believer in this phrase. In order to be the hero in your own story, you sometimes have to be the villain in somebody else's. And I think that a lot of how we've had to navigate the world as Black people is that the negativity has been thrown at us. And no matter what has been thrown at us, we've managed to overcome and succeed. And like Kiara and Anto were saying, there is Black joy, hence the reason why we have the phrases Black girl magic and Black boy joy. No, even in all of the hurt and even in all of the darkness, we find a way to shine. This experience, I got to work with people. Donna and I have known each other for a few years, but have never gotten a chance to work with each other. I got to work with her. I got to work the young actor that I got to work with in the scene, The Woman and the Boy. Oh my God, that child is so talented. And so to be able to be in a space, to be an adult actor working with a younger actor, to be a sounding board that allowed him to trust me enough to tell his story, because some of those stories, some of the parts of our stories overlap. But to be able to be that person to stand there to allow him to have Black boy joy, I am grateful for this entire experience.
Any final thoughts? Yeah.
I think what I would want audiences to take away from this is to have had a window on Black experience. One of the things that come out during this production are glimpses of the joy, of the pain, but experiences that many in the main culture might not have ever been aware of. And so that's what I hope by watching this, they'll be able to, walk a mile in someone else's shoes and get a better appreciation of the things that make up our Black experience and Black culture.
I would like to add that I know there's a lot of white guilt going on here, and I know a lot of white guilt will very much attach to this project, but me personally, I would want audiences to take away, I don't really care what the white perspective is with this film, because me personally, I think this is more for the Black community and needing to uplift Black voices and uplifting the joy that needs to be heard and just feeling seen and feeling however ways. We use mirrors a lot in this project, and seeing themselves reflected back is so important. And there will be a lot of white people that are uncomfortable, and that's very sorry for that. But mostly I'm concerned about how the Black community feels, and hopefully they feel liberated and feel seen and heard. And I think that's the biggest thing that's important, is to feel seen and heard.
Miriam, I'm really glad you said that, because I think a lot of even like interviews and stuff that you or a couple of other people have done, like the educational element of it comes in. And I really appreciate that you're quick to say like, no, like it's not our job to do this. And we didn't make this film to just like to educate white people about being Black. I just like that you're clear about the focus of it. And I think in sticking to that, it still is a very meaningful experience, even if you can't relate to these stories, because like that's the whole reason we're telling people stories in theater anyway. Like you experience something that you don't know, or you also maybe hear a story you think you don't relate to, and there are moments that you do understand and identify with. And at the end of the day, just hearing from a lot of different voices, specifically from voices that are underrepresented and that don't get heard enough, is going to enhance everybody's lives. And I just love the way that you phrase all of that. And it's going to be meaningful for anyone who watches it in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, this film it's made of all Black. It's an all Black cast, and just because we're an all Black cast talking about our racial experiences doesn't mean that we're trying to educate anybody. This is just our life. Talking about race is our survival and us expressing those needs, and that's expressing our truth. And that does not mean we're trying to teach anybody anything, because it's not our job. And I think that just needs to be made clear. This is anything a Black person does is art. Our way of talking, our joy, that is art. And our way of being is a story to tell. And I think that's just important to make clear.
I think that's a good spot to end. Thank you all again for watching. Thank you for hanging out with us during this discussion. We hope you'll tell your friends about the show and uplift Black voices.